Hello and welcome to Cave Girl Shenanigans. I'm the Veggie Vixen, and today I'm going to be preparing my twist on a taste of home recipe, Spaghetti Squash Casserole. Now the ingredients for this, you can change them up a little bit. I like to use baby portobello mushrooms, some green peppers or red peppers, onion, of course garlic, because that's my favorite spice, and then your spaghetti squash casserole. Always lean ground beef. The first thing I'm going to do is start getting my veggies prepared. I buy my garlic already peeled, so it's a little bit easier for me. This way, I can prepare dinner any night, quick and easy. The idea is to have fresh, healthy meals at my fingertips without wanting to bang my head against the wall. Here's some of my other pre-prepped vegetables. Last night I made a turkey meatloaf for dinner, so while I was chopping onions, I went ahead and chopped a couple extras and saved them in my glass dish. So there's my onions ready to go. I did the same thing with some red bell peppers. Red this week because I like the extra color and because they happen to be on sale. And then here are my baby portobellos. I'm gonna go ahead and chop those up, and I'm gonna get my garlic chopped up, and then we'll get to sauteing our veggies and browning our ground beef. I already have my onion and my red bell pepper chopped. So the next thing to do is to dice up my garlic, get my mushrooms cleaned and diced up, and get my tomatoes ready. Now these are fresh tomatoes. Baking Beauty and I went on a field trip to Sled's You Pick Strawberries in Mims, Florida. And these are some of the tastiest tomatoes we've ever had. So I'm gonna start with my tomatoes. I like to use a knife with not a serrated but a jagged edge, and the reason I do that is because instead of squishing my tomato, it'll give me a nice dice. I'm gonna rinse them off, so I'm gonna put them in my colander and head on over to the sink. Since these are small cherry tomatoes, I'm just gonna go ahead and quarter them. Then when I saute them, they should cook down quite a bit. So just a quick quarter dice on each one and put them in my bowl for when I head over to the stove. I always brown or saute my veggies before I add them to casseroles. The reason for that is it'll bring out the flavors, and also I can cook out a lot of the waters, because especially tomatoes, and I'm using the mushrooms today, there's a lot of water in those vegetables, and we don't want our casserole to end up soggy. I'm almost done quartering my tomatoes. And then I'm gonna go ahead and clean my mushrooms and slice those up. You could use a regular white mushroom here as well. When you go to the grocery store, check what's on sale. That's what I always do, because along with eating healthy, you wanna save a couple bucks. It'll stretch your money. For your mushrooms, I never wash my mushrooms underwater. Since they're already a watery vegetable, what I do is I use a cloth. I like to use reusable dishcloths. You can get these anywhere. I like the Dollar Tree because, again, I'm on a budget. So you can see the tops of my mushrooms. They're pretty dirty. You just take them, rub the dirt off, and then once you've cleaned them all, you're ready to dice and go. Now that I have all my mushrooms cleaned, and they are in the colander, but don't confuse that with having been rinsed under the sink. It was just because I already used my colander, and I like to do as few dishes as possible. I'm gonna go ahead and slice them. For this, I'm switching over to a regular blade knife. I just sharpened this, and I'm just gonna give a really quick dice. That way, they come out into nice slices. Last thing that needs prepped is the garlic. I'm gonna grab a couple of cloves here. As far as I'm concerned, you can never have too much garlic. First thing I do with my garlic is I smash it. That helps bring out the oils. It also makes it easier to hang on to when I'm dicing. So here I'm smashing I'm gonna smash, let's see, so far I've done 3. I think I could go way more than that. Garlic breath, not a big deal at a home meal because I can just go brush my teeth afterwards. Either that or Mr. Veggie Vixen can deal with it. All right, I'm gonna do about a handful. And once I get them all smashed, I think that looks good. I'm just gonna give it a quick dice. Now that everything's diced, chopped, and ready to go, it's time to clean out my spaghetti squash. I had that roasting in the oven while I was getting all of this ready. So let's go grab it. I'll show you how to take all the seeds out and we'll get started. Before you touch these spaghetti squash, you're gonna wanna take them and feel them. Sometimes I find if I wear latex or rubber gloves while I'm doing this, it helps me not get too burned. Now I'm kinda used to it, so I can handle them. I'm gonna take them out. You'll notice there's a little bit of water in the bottom of my dish. That was so that as they were in the oven, they didn't just roast, but they steamed a little bit. So there we go. I'm gonna dump out this water, dry out my dish. I'll be right back. As you can see, I already have one of my spaghetti squashes cleaned up and ready to go. I'm gonna show you how to do the other one. I used my serrated edge knife. I find it cuts better through the spaghetti squash, and nothing fancy. You just cut it in half and then use a regular dinner fork, or sometimes I use a serving fork because they're larger, and that helps me get all the seeds and squash insides out. Today I'm at Baking Beauty's house, but when I'm home, I take these guts to my chickens because they love the treat. Using my fork, I'm just gonna get these seeds out. I did let my spaghetti squash cool just a little bit, but you're gonna wanna be careful because the guts are still kind of warm. So I'm just kind of using my fingers to dig around. What we don't want is seeds in our casserole. They're not very pleasant to bite on. They don't have a bad taste. It just can add texture issues for some people, and you really don't need to eat them. So I'm gonna go ahead and get these seeds out. There aren't too many. These are on the smaller side. All right, so I have half done, starting on the second half, and I'm just feeling around using my fingers, pulling out all these seeds. As soon as I got all the seeds out, I'm gonna use my fork again, and that's gonna help take the squash and pull it apart so that it gets its spaghetti look, which is where, of course, the spaghetti squash gets its name. It'll end up looking a little bit like pasta strings. Another one of my favorite ways to eat spaghetti squash is with spaghetti sauce right on top. It's not exactly like having a spaghetti dinner, but it sure is delicious. Here we go. I want to save some of those spaghetti strings, but get rid of those guts, and I'm almost done. And of course, as I'm using my fork to take the insides of my spaghetti squash out, I can, of course, pull any more seeds that I see. All right, this looks good. I'm ready to grab my fork and start pulling out the guts. And you can even use your hands a little. You can see that my my shell is coming apart a little bit. That's fine. And I just keep using my fork and my hands to pull all the guts out. All right, so what I have here is a pound of lean ground beef. This is a 93% lean. You could go with a 97% lean, or you could even go with a 90% lean. It depends on your preference. I'm gonna go ahead and get my burner started. I'm gonna put it on a medium high. I wanna go ahead and I don't want it to be too juicy. I wanna get it brown really quick. I'm gonna let my pan heat up a moment while I unwrap this. I'm gonna put a little bit of extra virgin olive oil in the bottom of my pan since it is such a lean ground beef. That way nothing gets stick. Although these are organics pans and they're already seasoned, so really nothing should stick, but just in case. And I like the taste of extra virgin olive oil. So here I'm gonna use, of course, plastic or wood always in your nonstick pans. And that's gonna heat up just a second. It's already getting warm, very nice. And as soon as it's just a little bit warmer, throw in that ground beef and get it browned. I'm gonna start breaking up the ground beef so that I don't have lumps, and And after that, I'll be cooking up my veggies. All right, now that my ground beef is nice and brown, I'm gonna put it over top of my spaghetti squash, which I made a point to go ahead and evenly layer my spaghetti squash into the bottom of my casserole dish. I'm gonna scoop in my ground beef. As I was cooking it, you saw me add some spices. Those will be listed in the recipe on our blog, Cave Girl Shenanigans. So for the full recipe, you're going to have to go there. So here we go. I'm going to scrape all this ground beef. It's nice and crumbled, no lumps. Put that all in. I'm going to grab myself some more extra virgin olive oil using this same pan because now it's got that ground beef deliciousness. Put a little bit more extra virgin olive oil in the bottom of my pan. Now I'm going to start cooking up my veggies, especially because of the water in my mushrooms. I want to make sure I have a medium to high heat because I don't want my casserole soggy. So I'm going to start with my mushrooms. I want to cook the water out of them. Pan's nice and hot. You can tell because that sizzle. And here's my mushrooms, putting them all in at once. I'm going to get them started before I start adding my other ingredients. Now that my veggies are all ready, you can see that I've taken my ground beef, spread it in a nice even layer over top of my spaghetti squash. I'm going to add in my veggies. Again, nice even layer, and I'm going to pop it in the oven. It's time to take this spaghetti squash casserole out of the oven and top it with our last remaining ingredients. Oh, it really smells good. I'm going to put down some fresh grated Parmesan cheese. I always grate my own cheese because that way I don't have any extra additives like cellulose. Just a little bit, a light layering on top. There you go, that's just enough Parmesan cheese. Now I'm going to put some freshly chopped parsley. Again, just a nice layer, gives it that extra touch of flavor. There we go. And then I'm going to use some white Vermont cheddar. I've done this with mozzarella. I've done it with regular yellow cheddar. I've even done it with a Colby Jack. So whatever your favorite cheese is, or whatever cheese you're in the mood for, make that your last topping. Then it's going to get about 5 to 10 more minutes in the oven until it's brown and bubbly. There we go, nice and even, and I'm ready. All right, spaghetti squash casserole is ready. And yours should look something like this.